The Location of Culture by Homi Bhabha is a major work in postcolonial theory that examines how culture, identity, and power are formed in situations of colonialism and its aftermath. The book argues that culture is not fixed or pure, but it is always produced in spaces of contact, conflict, and negotiation. Baba focuses on how identities are shaped in what he calls in between or liminal spaces where different cultures meet and interact. The book begins by challenging traditional ideas of culture as stable and rooted in single origin. Modern identities are formed through movement, migration, and displacement. Colonial history has created situations where people live between cultures, languages, and traditions. These in between positions are not signs of weakness but sources of creativity and new meaning. Culture exists not in the past or in pure traditions but in the present moment of interaction. Baba discusses the role of theory and argues that theory is not separate from politics. He rejects the idea that theory is an elite or purely Western activity. He shows that theory can help us understand how power works in everyday life. By using theory, marginalized people can question dominant narratives and expose hidden forms of control in language, literature, and culture. Many chapters focus on colonial discourse and how colonial power represents colonized people. Baba analyzes stereotypes and shows that they are not simple images but unstable and contradictory. Colonial authority depends on repeating stereotypes. However, these stereotypes never fully succeed. This failure creates cracks in colonial power. Through concepts like mimicry, Baba explains how colonized subjects imitate colonial culture in ways that are almost the same but not quite, which both supports and disrupts colonial authority. Baba also explores the idea of hybridity, one of the book's most important concepts. Hybridity refers to the mixing of cultures that occurs under colonial conditions. Rather than seeing cultural mixing as corruption or loss, Baba views it as productive. Hybrid identities challenge claims of cultural purity and weaken rigid boundaries between colonizer and colonized. This process opens space for resistance and new forms of identity. Baba, in the later chapters, turns to the question of nation, narration, and belonging. Nations are not unified or natural entities, but are created through stories, symbols, and shared memories. These narratives often exclude minorities, migrants, and marginalized groups by focusing on the margins of the nation. Baba shows how national identity is always incomplete and contested. The book concludes by rethinking modernity, race, and history. Modernity must be understood through its colonial encounters. Voices from the margins, women, migrants, and post colonial subjects force us to revise dominant histories. Culture, in this view, is always unfinished and open to change.